Former Chancellor, I suppose I've got to call you now. Look, you lost.
Yes, we did.
Is this an extinction-level event for the Tories?
It is pretty catastrophic. To go from 365 MPs down to 121 is pretty shocking. But I do think that we have an opportunity to regroup. Why do I say that? Because I think if you look at the MPs that remain today, we've got some serious talent in the Conservative Party that is still in Parliament. And I am hopeful that they will come together, because for too many years, for far too long, we formed a circular firing squad. And that is what the electorate saw. And therefore, they reacted. And they reacted quite rightly by throwing us out of power.
You announced many months ago that you were leaving the House of Commons, but perhaps it's an indication of how shattering a blow this is for your party, that not a single senior serving member of the Conservative Party, parliamentary party, would volunteer to speak for the party this morning. I don't think I've ever remembered being in a situation where a senior... no senior person wanted to come on the telly.
A couple of things. One, they're probably exhausted. And I don't think you would...
Nobody's ever too exhausted to take 10 minutes
I hear you, but
in front of an audience.
If you've been running a campaign to get re-elected, as Jeremy Hunt has been able to do, and I congratulate him on an excellent campaign. He stayed in his constituency. It was really a massive endorsement of his performance as a member of Parliament, and that's at the end of the day what we all are.
Well, steady on. He scraped home. And by the way, he, for example, has already said he's not running for the leadership. And but it's striking, you know. OK, Penny Mordaunt's out. She's not saying anything. All the people who we think of as potential leaders, Badenoch, Tugendhat, Braverman and so on, all silent this morning. What's going on?
But it is Sunday morning after a bruising Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, I mean, basically, with a lot of these people, we had to actually lock the doors to stop them coming in the studio. What's going on?
Well, I'll tell you, I suspect the very senior ones are working out whether they're going to run or not for the leadership. If they are going to run, they'll be putting their teams together over the weekend. On, I think, Monday, the party board will meet. Of course, then the 1922 has to be reconstituted. A new chairman of the 1922 will have to be elected.
Because Graham Brady
obviously stood down. So there's a lot going on. And forgive me, I know your show is incredibly important, as you
It's part of the Constitution.
You came to me last night, and quite rightly, I said I would come on the programme.
Okay.
So I wouldn't read too much into why you couldn't get anyone senior, because you remember they've been fighting their seats, and they're now having to sort of sit back and think about what they do next.
All right. Look, nobody's watching, so we can speak privately. Who would you like to see as next leader? I would have thought, for example, you might be a Cleverly man.
Well, at this stage, I think the most important thing, whoever comes forward, is they come forward with a plan of how to unite the party, bring us back together. As I say, I think the biggest challenge for us is unity. And I think the lesson, if we haven't learnt it yet, then we really will be in trouble, is that we have to present a united front to the country. Rishi suffered badly in the campaign because there were sort of voices from his own party coming out against whether it's the campaign or pre-campaign. Before him, you know what happened, right, with Boris.
Well, that's interesting.
So I think in many ways our greatest challenge now is how do we unite the party? We've always had those who were centre-left and centre-right.
This is very interesting, because it feels to me like that rules out certain people. So, for example, Suella Braverman, who decided to go into the newspapers the day before the vote to say how rubbish the campaign had been. If you're thinking about uniting and all the rest of it, doesn't feel like it. to me. There are other candidates. People talk about Kemi Badenoch as somebody who can start a fight in an empty room. It sounds like you're already narrowing down the potential list of candidates here.
You are trying very hard to get me to come out and either criticise or attack my colleagues. I'm not going to do that.
Okay, I'll ask you a serious question about
Yeah.
this. What? Let's not name names, but what does the next leader of the Conservative Party, from your point of view, look like? What are the qualities that person's going to have?
So that's the right question to ask. Why do I say that? Because if you look at what has just happened, and interestingly enough, in your earlier discussion with Jonathan Reynolds, Tony Blair wasn't the first to home in on the immigration issue. It was Alistair Campbell on the night, because I was with him on another station on election night. And he asked the question immediately of both Rachel Reeves and the new Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, because unless they have a plan for migration as a whole, you are going to see Labour come under huge pressure, especially in those red wall seats. You look at where reform were heading, and it's easy to have a sort of simplistic answer to this by someone like Nigel Farage, but it's potent. Now, what are the lessons for us? We've got to draw lessons from what we've done well. So if you look at the pandemic, the vaccine deployment, that went well. Why did it go well? It wasn't just, right. And I take very little credit for this. It's my team, but also more importantly, bringing outside expertise. What Starmer's done well is James Timpson, Patrick Vallance, bringing outside expertise to help deal with some of these big issues. How is he going to deal with immigration will be a huge test for him. Okay,
so that's one of the answers. Look, there's going to be a spectre at the Tory feast, and that spectre is called Nigel Farage. The new father of the House, the longest-serving MP, Edward Lee, said yesterday that you should appeal to reform voters and that you should bring Nigel Farage into the party. Now, when you were last in this studio, you said, not a chance. But after Thursday's results, they took 14.3% of the vote. They essentially deprived the Tories of a majority. Have you changed your mind?
No, I tell you what we need to do is appeal to reform voters and to Lib Dem voters. Let's not forget that, yes, of course, the reason for the Labour majority is reform doing so well in England especially. Labour's vote went backwards in Wales, yet they've got this massive majority. The other reason, of course, they had a great campaign in Scotland under Anna Sawar, and the SNP collapsed. But we need to appeal to remember, Lib Dem's got 72 seats. Yeah. They've taken many, many seats from us, including my own in Stratford-on-Avon. So this idea that if all we need to do is deal with the issues around reform, so immigration, migration, is not enough. I think we have to do both. Okay. We have to be able to appeal to Stratfordians and say, come back to us. Here's why. Here's why we deserve your vote. And the red wall seats to say, we will have dealt with immigration and Labour can't.